and coaches, it's the professor with the breakdown, and Lord, do I hate being right when Indiana is so wrong. So, Indiana basketball takes on uh, Michigan State at home and loses soundly. Not surprised. They played a pretty, for them, semi decent game. They actually won the points in the paint battle, but unfortunately, our entire offense seemed to crumble. We shot 26% from the three, while Michigan State shot 50% from the three. That is not a good recipe for winning a game at Assembly Hall. We've now dropped 5 games at Assembly Hall, which is the second most for a freshman year coach since Bobby Knight. So we are not looking good. We host Minnesota for our next game. Minnesota now a must win. Minnesota, if you'll remember, going all the way back to the beginning of the season, looked like it was going to be a pretty handedly favored IU win at minus 250, and Minnesota proceeded to shoot the lights out. Indiana proceeded to not guard, and Indiana lost to a very hurt at the time Minnesota team at home at the barn. We get them one more time at Assembly Hall. Will be the last game of the season at Assembly. Lord, I hope that we can win. Right now, we are very clearly in the risk for making the tournament, and that's not looking good. With Purdue winning, or with Purdue losing, and Ohio State winning, that moved Ohio State to 10-8 in conference, which places them very soundly in the 9 spot for the Big Ten tournament seeding, and keeps us in the losing bracket at 9-8. So if we win the last 2 games and Ohio State loses their last 2 games, we'll be tied. But that is very unlikely, seeing as how one of us has to win or lose at Ohio State. So we will necessitate a win at both Minnesota and then our final game of the season away at Ohio State. I will take Indiana to beat Minnesota this time at Assembly Hall. I anticipate the crowd not being a factor at all at Assembly Hall, as been shown the last few games where the attendance has been atrocious, mostly due to the performance of the team or the underperformance of the team. Just not putting good product on the floor to watch or want to spend money and go watch. Game at Columbus at Ohio State, giving it to Ohio State. They're hot right now. They just beat Purdue. They'll have one game in between that game and us, but I fully anticipate Ohio State to win that game, which will at least move them to 11th. It'll keep us at 9, which will keep us as the 10 seed in the bracket. What we have coming up when it looks at the conference, since we play Minnesota, they are tied right now for 11th. If they win, they'll move tied 10th with us, and then that would necessitate a must-win game for us at Ohio State, which is again unlikely, which would then see Indiana move from the 10th to 12th spot for the Big Ten tournament and for seeding purposes, and most likely bump us officially out of the at-large bids for the big tournament, and then our hopes will rely on any types of wins we can get as a 10th, 11th, or 12th seed going into the conference tournament, and will require us to probably win now, at least go to the 3rd game, which is again very highly unlikely for an Indiana team. We perform traditionally very terribly at the Big Ten Conference, and this team is just not built for a bracket conference tournament or to last very long with a Missouri Valley Conference offense against a Big Ten tournament seed, probably taking on the 4 or 5 seed. So I don't like our odds because we will have lost to those tentative 4 or 5 seeds at least once this season. It might end up being Purdue that we have to play again, and again, I don't like our chances playing Purdue in a neutral court with the state of our team. So that kind of wraps the season, in my opinion, for Indiana, unless there's some kind of dominant performance against Minnesota, an upset win against Ohio State, and then at least one win in the conference tournament, and then possibly a ranked win would probably put us in, pretty handedly. But I just don't see that happen. So I think it's the end of the 2025-2026 Indiana Hoosier season. Do I see us going to the NIT? That's still a 50-50 maybe. I can see DeVries wanting to get at least some of the core guys that might return some more experience on the court playing as a team in a tournament-like setting. I think that could be beneficial to the team and the program. I don't see us doing very well, regardless in the NIT, whoever ends up being in it. But that might be likely and might be the breath of life we need to extend our season. But just not seeing it for the Hoosiers this year. They just couldn't get it done on the court. Just for an update, Indiana State basketball moves solidly into third from last in the Missouri Valley, so they'll definitely not even be getting invited to their tournament. They have, although they did win against UIC, their last game here, they have 2 more games left. They're 3-15 in the conference right now. It's not happening for them. They're not going to get the invite, and they're definitely not going to get an invite to the NIT. So their season is essentially over at this point. Let's move to the good news stories for some of the sports followers in the state. So we'll start with Indiana baseball. Indiana baseball moves to 8-9 over the weekend in a 4-game series against Conference USA powerhouse, not really, Western Kentucky University. Hoosiers split. It again did not look good. Hoosiers continue to average two or more errors a game. Right now, averaging more than 2 errors a game, and the defense is just looking atrocious. The really unfortunate thing is that in all 4 games, the starting pitching wasn't terrible. It going into 4th and 5th innings in all 4 games, Hoosiers were either only down by 1, tied at 0, or winning the game. The unfortunate thing is that in all of those circumstances, they still ended up dropping 2 of those games, even with it either being tied going into the middle innings or having an advantage and having a lead. They still ended up losing 2 of those, which would have bolstered their record, moving them to 500 or 1 game over 500. Instead, they look to have a Tuesday game, one last warm-up game or tune-up game before conference starts this upcoming weekend, which will be a three-game series away, I believe. Truly unfortunate. You're going into conference tournament less than 500 on the season. That is not a good place to be as a Power I baseball conference. But again, it goes back to the unfortunate scheduling strategy and philosophy of Coach Mercer. Coach Mercer, as I've said before, continues to schedule high-ranking ACC and SEC teams, or at least teams that are going to be projected to be top 25, and those losses rack up, and they have for us to the tune of having an 8-9 record, and our best showing was a split series against Western Kentucky University. So this baseball program is just not looking good right now. They really have a lot to shore up on defense in the infield. They have a lot to shore up on some of the base running decisions that are made, a lot of pickoffs, a lot of runners left in scoring position, and just no timely hits. I mean, almost from top to bottom, the program is in the dumpster. But like I said, if there was a shining point, it's that it seems like our starters are getting comfortable and are at least getting us to 4th and 5th innings. And that is, better than what it has been with some of the starters only going, 1 2/3, 2 1/3, etc. So we'll look for improvement there. A good example is Conference USA, Western Kentucky University. Their starting pitcher went 7 innings on 67 pitches against us. And that's a very efficient pitching program. It's a very efficient defense with 0 errors. And, a Conference USA team taking it to Indiana, being able to put their starter out there for 7 innings and us only being able to get, 4 2/3 out of our starter. That's just not where we need to be playing a lesser conference going into our conference play. So we got to continue to increase the length of our starting pitchers. The bullpen right now is just not getting it done for Indiana. So the longer you can keep the starters out there, the better. But we'll see what happens. Conference play starts. We'll see if somehow, some way they've been holding back, or the coach can get their heads on straight. But we'll move to the best team right now in the state of Indiana. First, I'll highlight the Evansville Aces. They take their series this weekend, moving them into a winning season so far at 6-5 overall. But they take a 2-1 series win this weekend, which was good for them. And really, the important update is your Indiana State Sycamores. Sycamores go to the Bahamas and they play Penn State, so one of our conference opponents. Indiana State takes it to Penn State, winning 2 out of 3 and taking that Sunday game, the third game, to the 11th. And it was an unfortunate walk-off by Penn State, but you're talking about a Missouri Valley Conference baseball team playing up and playing a Power 5 conference baseball program, winning 2 games pretty handedly on the back of both their pitching and their offense, and then taking it with a lead into the ninth inning, unfortunately giving up 2 runs in the ninth to tie it at 3-3, and then Penn State getting the walk-off, which is expected. They have a deeper, more athletic roster, and they're built for more long tenured games like that. They just have more options when it comes to pitching and substitutions and experience when it comes to playing those games. And of course, this was a neutral site in Bahamas, but the fun stat is that Indiana State Sycamores are the first NCAA baseball program to win a series in the Bahamas. So a little bit of fun history being made by one of the state baseball teams, which is pretty great. That is your wrap up for your college baseball, college basketball. Real quick updates on the Cubs. So, one of the moves that got made pretty late was picking up Michael Conforto, and there were questions as to why we would need to pick him up, and then it became kind of obvious. First baseman Austin Wells, who came from the Yankees, the Cubs had picked up on a minor league deal, but appears that the Cubs picked him up knowing that he was injured, and he had to have surgery, and his 26th season is over. He had surgery, I believe, last week or late the week before that, and that took him off the roster of availability for the 26th season, which makes sense now why they picked up Michael Conforto, who can play outfield and substitute in at first base. And so that move is making more sense now. Kind of wanted to see what Austin Wells could do for the Cubs, but he will not be appearing this season, and so Conforto will be taking any of those, I wouldn't say starts, but innings that Austin would have eaten up or come in for defensive substitutions, DH, pinch runner, etc., and he's capable of doing all of that. What we saw over the weekend with the Cubs still have a long way to go. Very much a losing season, but they were able to beat the Dodgers, who were 6-1, had just come off their first loss of the spring training, and we did in fact start Edwin Cabrera that game, and so it was good being able to see his first start for the Cubs during spring training. He didn't go very far into the game, but he only went 2 1/3, so probably limiting him since it was his first game. But we move into, you get your pitchers out there to get a certain amount of reps in, and then you pull them off and you let you start to formulate how you're going to put together the middle relief and the bullpen. And the bullpen just did not look very good. Now, granted, we win against the Dodgers pretty handedly, but that came on the bats. We did start almost what looked like a major league roster start. So we had a majority of our actual starters in who were available, and they were able to get some pretty quick runs off the Dodgers and hold that lead. Middle relief still struggled, still didn't look great, but the star of the show, and again the good news story for the Cubs, is Jefferson Rojas. Jefferson Rojas not starting, but in this particular game, but coming in, pitch hitting for one of the outfielders, and his batting continues to look really sound, really good. He's probably the only really good news story for the Cubs coming out of the minor leagues. But this was a player who started last year in the Double A's and is most likely looking at, he's not going to make the major league roster, but going to be starting for AAA pretty soundly based off of his spring training. We'll see how he performs. We'll see how he performs in the AAA, but could be a very viable option to bring up to pitch in if we see any injuries or guys need any time off. His bat has been pretty consistent during spring training thus far. I don't see that it would drop. He's batting pretty well, somewhere in over the 300s with as many bats as he has. As far as starters go, Carson Kelly continues to hit, which is good. He's over 500 or over 400. I think he's hitting 438. But he's had some significant. I think he's had 4 starts so far, so that's over a couple games. And then Dansby Swanson has been batting well as well, so he's hitting over 400 as well at the moment. And you have to remember during spring training, what the coach and the coaches are looking at for your everyday starters in the major league lineup are generally about 50 at bats before the beginning of the season. And so, you start them and they probably get 2 at bats during each start, and then they get pulled somewhere in the 4th, 5th innings, and then that's when your minor leaguers come in and relieve them, and they start taking their swings and substituting defensively. So good starts for those guys. Again, Suzuki, who's gone with World Baseball Classic, and Carson Kelly, starting catcher, and Dansby Swanson, starting shortstop. So those guys are looking pretty good. The unfortunate news is that we're not seeing very good at bats. Again, limited. Ian Happ's only played 2 games, but I believe he's only got 1 hit so far, so he's hitting about 100. And Pete Crow Armstrong, starting center fielder, just has not been able to find his swing. As I said last time, the joke from the announcers is that he's been working on his swing since last June. That's about right. The unfortunate thing is that his lack of ability to make contact and to hit for power like he did the first half of his rookie season, of his true rookie season, is lacking, and it's starting to show. So probably need to get Pete some more starts. He's unfortunately going to World Baseball Classic, so depending, World Baseball Classic starts March 5th. That's going to run through the 17th, so St. Patrick's Day. So he's going to be missing some time. But if Team USA ends up going to the championship, you're seeing 12 days of play there, which he'll be starting. And so he should be getting 3 to 4 at-bats per game. And hopefully he'll be able to, and that'll be against, starting foreign pitching that start for the major league. So he'll be seeing good pitchers there, and hopefully make an impact for Team USA, and hopefully be able to work on the course correct on some of these issues that he's been having hitting at the tail end of the Cubs' 25 season, and so far what we've seen in spring training. That's going to wrap it up for the breakdown for today. I'm Professor Lyons, and I am out here, but as always, go Hoosiers.